others? Okay. I'll make sure to tell all the girls at school he's officially out of the sympathy zone. No need to feel sorry for him now. He's released. Any others?
Jason also wants to remember the loss.
Yes, let's do remember the loss.
I would just want to thank the Lord for being able to be here tonight. How much it means to me. I've got a little boy that's turning 52 tonight. My baby.
Oh, mercy.
That was impossible.
52 seems so old. I'll be there in 2 years.
Happened real fast too. But that always brings my life. Holly's in church now, and I'm just so thankful. That's a perfect thing.
Thank God for that.
I pray for them to go all of my family, all my grandchildren, all of them.
Any others?
Her grandmother died a couple of weeks ago, and her husband's grandmother died today. So remember that.
We should remember them. We should remember them. We should remember that was in the car wreck.
Just one of the girls, little lady worked with her granddaughter, having a brain scan done tomorrow, just for, just a cautionary thing, so it's better.
We should remember her. Any others? Yes, remember Madison and I think Callie is the name. Remember the baby. Last report we got from Steve, everything, the baby was doing well, and so was Madison, still having some blood pressure issues, but was doing better, so be sure to remember them. If there's no other, all those with the unspoken, invite all, we'll come to the altar to pray. We won't ask no particular one to lead. Most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the privilege to be in your house, God. Sister Louise said, God, it is a privilege to be in your house, God. We're thankful, God, Lord, that we're able to be here, God. I know that so many times we take it for granted, God. Truly, Lord, the help and the strength that we have to be able to come, God. come, Lord, Master. Sunday's come, Lord, baptism's done, decisions made, God. Lord, the new converts as well. We just pray, God, Lord, you put your hedge around them, God, they can be raised up, God, Lord, in you and your ways, Father God. Go with us tonight, Lord. Just lead, guide, and direct us as we go on your word. Lord, all said and all done, bring honor and glory to you. In your name we pray. Amen. Thought Louise was going to sing. She said she was going to sing.
I told her I thought we'd pick these persons, I said, I thought we were going to preach and sing.
I'm caught up in your presence. I just want to sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment, and I never want to leave. And I'm not here for blessing. Jesus, you don't owe me anything. And more than anything that you can do, I just want you. And I'm sorry when I've just gone through the motions. I'm sorry when I've just sang another song. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. And I'm sorry when I've come with my agenda. I'm sorry when I forgot that you're enough. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. I'm caught up in your presence. I just want to sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment, and I never want to leave, no. And I'm not here for blessing. Jesus, you don't owe me anything. And more than anything that you can do, I just want you. And I just want you, and nothing else, nothing else, nothing else will do. Oh, I just want you, and nothing else, nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you, and nothing else, oh, nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you.
Amen. Thankful for that song. There was a lot in that, a whole lot, and if just the act of what Christ did on the cross, that's enough. The blessings, the grace, the mercy that He bestows upon us each and every day, that's just gravy. That's icing on the cake. The finished work of the cross, that did it all. That did it all, and that's going to make it all worth its while one day. But His blessings are still new every day, and I'm thankful for that. That was a great song, great song. If you have your Bibles now, we're going to go to Joshua chapter 6, and then we're going to go some places after that. But we're going to go to the walls of Jericho. Okay, Battle of the Walls of Jericho when they came down, and I think maybe John, I'm not sure for any others here that's doing the reading the Bible through the year app, and I started off a little slow. I've caught back up since then. Actually, I think I'm a day or two ahead now. But on that, we started obviously in Genesis and go all the way through, and we're Numbers now, and we go through all of these. Of course, now Moses, children of Israel, and their ups and downs, and their good days, bad days, and Moses interceding with them, and it's all about getting to the promised land. And we're reminded through those, and of course each one of those, if you've never done those on the YouVersion Bible app, ever so often they'll give you a devotion on the Bible Project, and those guys do a really good job. They're the ones that draw and kind of talk your way through it and set it up, and they was talking on the glory of it was talking about the tabernacle and when it was built and how that the glory of the Lord was obviously in that. And through all that, we see the finished work again of Christ on the cross, because I would have never survived in Old Testament times. If you did this, then you got to bring this, and this as a sacrifice. Has to be done on this day, this way. A lot of particulars in that. And a lot of, I would not want to be a priest at that time either. And be responsible for all that, because if they messed up, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. I wouldn't want them to tie a rope to me and come in here to preach, so that if I stepped out of line and died, they could drag me back out. That would be a scary thing. That'd be a scary thing. But through all that, and the song that Sarah just sung, what Jesus did, all of that was just to foretell that when Christ came, all those things were taken care of us for us. But if you have your Bibles, let's go to Joshua chapter 6. Okay. And if you want to follow through, we'll go ahead and just read. Bear with me. A lot of reading here at the very beginning. But we're going to go and read, I think it is the first 20 verses of Joshua. It says, "Now Jericho was straitly shut up, because the children of Israel, none went out, none came in. And the Lord said unto Joshua, See, I have given thine hand Jericho, and the king thereof, and the mighty men of valor. And ye shall compass the city, all ye men of war, and go round about the city. Thus shalt thou do 6 days. And 7 priests shall bear before the ark 7 trumpets of ram's horn. And the 7th day ye shall compass the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow with the trumpets. And it shall come to pass that when they make the long blast with the ram's horn, and when ye hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of that city shall fall flat. And the people shall ascend up, every man straight before him. And Joshua the son of Nun called the priests and said unto them, Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horn before the ark of the Lord. And he said unto the people, Pass on and compass the city, and let him that is armed pass on before the ark of the Lord. And it came to pass, when Joshua had spoken to the people, that the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horn passed on before the Lord and blew the trumpets, and the ark of the covenant of the Lord followed them. And the armed men went before the priest and blew with the trumpets, and rearward came after the ark, and the priest going on and blowing with the trumpets. And Joshua had commanded the people, saying, You shall not shout, nor make any noise with your voice, neither shall any word proceed out of your mouth until the day I bid you shout, then ye shall shout. Then ye shout. And the ark of the Lord compassed the city, going about once, and they came into the camp and lodged in the camp. And Joshua rose up early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord, and the 7 priests, bearing 7 trumpets of ram's horn before the ark of the Lord, went continually and blew with the trumpets, and the armed men went before them. But the rearward came after the ark of the Lord, and the priests going on and blowing with the trumpets. And the second day they compassed the city once, returned to camp, and they did 6 days. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they rose up early about the dawning of the day and compassed the city after the same manner 7 times. Only on that day they compassed the city 7 times. And it came to pass at the 7th time, when the priest blew with the trumpets, Joshua said unto the people, Shout, for the Lord hath given you the city. And the Lord shall Lord shall be accursed, even it and all that are therein, to the Lord. Only Rahab the harlot shall live, she and all that are in her house, because she hid the messengers that we sent. And ye unwise yourself from the accursed things, lest you make yourself accursed, when you take off the accursed thing, and make the camp of Israel a curse and trouble it. But all the silver and the gold and the vessels and the brass and the iron they consecrate unto the Lord, they shall come into the treasury of the Lord. So the people shouted when the priest blew the trumpet. And when it came to pass, when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, and the wall fell flat. So that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. Okay? And so when we read that, there's a couple different ways to read it. One, you read it from a historical text, and you think, wow, that was a pretty amazing feat. 2, then when you look at it from a military standpoint, you think, that's not much of a military plan. And Joshua, Moses has passed, and remember, basically about midway through Genesis on, it has been Moses and Aaron. Lord sent Aaron to help Moses, because Moses gave the Lord all these excuses. So Aaron got go along with Moses, and they were going in to lead the children of Israel to the promised land. Okay? However, the children of Israel, just like us today, would grumble and complain over every little thing that went as they didn't think it should go. They were starved to death. Lord sent them manna. They were thirsty. Moses struck the rock, and back and forth in this journey. Okay? Moses has passed. Joshua was a military leader, and now he is the one who's actually taken the children of Israel into the promised land. And the walls of Jericho was kind of the first entrance into the promised land. And of course, Joshua is a great military leader. He's laying out the plans, and this, I think about it from a coaching standpoint. You get the team together, and you say, if it was a softball or baseball game or something, all right, here's the game plan. Nobody's going to swing today. We're not going to swing at the first pitch for, 6 innings. Then on the 7th inning, we're going to start hammering them. And you would think, that's not a very good idea, We're just showing up, basically. And that's it. And that's kind of what they're doing. For 6 days, they're going to go. They're going to march around. They're going to have their little parade. Ark of the Covenant's going to go. People are going to be blowing the ram's horn. And they're going to go. And the people can't say a word. Okay? That within itself would be very hard. Because I know how people are today. If it was a ball game and people was watching this, the fans are going crazy at this point in time. Come on, you got to do something. Not much of a plan. And probably most of the people are walking around through their elbowing each other and like, do you really think this is going to work? This might be the dumbest thing we've done yet. You know, and all these grumblings, okay? But there's a point to it. There's a point to it. So this is the actual, well, not the actual, but this is a scale of ancient Jericho, okay? And the walls. And this here is a retaining wall. And in this retaining wall, I left my notes at home on that, but I'm wanting to say that this was 6 foot thick and somewhere between 12 and 16 feet high. All right? This wall, in some spots, would be 30 foot high from ground level down here, the retaining wall, and then this up through here, okay? And well, just God being God and doing what he does, the amazement of it is that in 1950, I believe, there was a group of architects that went in and they said none of this happened, okay? Said none of it happened. They went through and they looked and stuff and was totally wrong on the date. Once they got the dates right, every single bit of it happened. And the way that it happened, they had found through the excavation of this here that when this wall fell, that these walls fell and pretty much just made a ramp so that the people could leave here and just climb right up through the rumble all the way up through. So it all fell in perfect ways to where it was a ramp and they just went in and they took the city, okay? Now, so what can we take from this just to the fact that, wow, that was just a, you know, some people will say that it was probably an earthquake. Well, think about that. Even with the timing of if it was an earthquake, God said, 6 days, you're going to march. Here's the battle plan. Here's the way it's going to be. And when the horns blow and you get the command, then everybody's going to shout. Even if when they shouted, God sent an earthquake right then to, and if you watch, I watch them videos of them when they demolition these buildings and they just all kind of crumble the way that God did that. God did that to these walls and the people went up. Okay? So, 7 things that we can take from this that'll help us in our life if we apply them. Okay? Number 1, follow God even when the journey seems impossible. Remember all the grumblers. Remember, you know, if you put this in modern terms, all the naysayers, all the people would be like, this ain't going to work. And what's your wall? What's your Jericho? You know, what is it that you're going around? And you're claiming a victory, but it just ain't happening. You're waiting for something to happen, and it just hasn't yet. Okay? God always shows up. Remember who's doing the fighting. Our job is to be obedient. That was it. The only thing that they had to do in order to come in and take this first city here was be obedient. God didn't say, now what I want you to do is when you go back to the camp, make sure that you're fashioning yourself some good mattocks, some sledgehammers. We want all the beefy men up front, the quick people in the back, so when they strike these walls and they fall, then you quick guys can shoot up through the rumble and get into the city. No, he said, just be obedient. You march, I'll take care of the rest. And the same thing with us in our life. God said, just go and be obedient. I'll take care of the details. But so many times we feel that we have to know all the details. We wait. We want God to give us the whole game plan. But God said, you do this, and I'll take care of the rest. So just lean in and trust. If somebody will look up for us, Deuteronomy 5 and 33. Deuteronomy 5 and 33. Okay, walk in the ways of the Lord. That's all that the children of Israel was doing right here. They were literally walking in the ways of the Lord, following the commandments in which Joshua had given them. That was it. I'm sure that there was probably some Mullinses in the group who was trying to figure it out on their own. They would probably been stubborn and had little side meetings. Be like, listen, I really think what we need to do. Now, I've noticed this wall, and over here on this side, I think there's a couple cracks in it or something. And if we would attack from that side, it would probably go better. Okay? Trying to figure things out ahead of time. But God tells us in His Word. She just read, walk in all your ways, which the Lord your God hath commanded you. And what was He saying? You'll live and do well. He'll take care of you. If we trust and obey. Just trust and obey. And it's hard to trust and obey, especially when we don't see the whole game plan. When we don't know the whole battle and how it's going to end and when it's going to end, God's saying just walk. Just trust and obey. All right, second thing we see, prayer and worship are our two greatest tools we have. And I thought about Brother Brett last week when he talked about worship, and I really, really, really enjoyed that. That was good stuff. And it's one of them that you chew on all week. And the purpose of worship, you know, and he talked about, you know, worship's not just a couple songs here and there or whatever else, but having a heart of worship. And what does worship require us to do? To stop. Change your focus, because you can't worship if you're not focused on the Lord. Okay? Other than that, it's just lip service. It's just cheap sacrifice is all it is. But to worship means that we're focused on Him. And if we're focused on Him, guess what? We're not focused on our mess, our problems, whatever it is that we're going through. Okay? And so through this, we see that God gave Joshua a detailed battle plan. All right? How did he get that? Well, he had to be communing with the Lord. He had to be talking with the Lord in order to get this detailed battle plan. Okay? The same thing for those of us that get up here. You know, I don't think none of us get up here and just say, I think we might try a little of this today. I left for work this morning, stressed out. Bob's like, what are you teaching on tonight? I have no idea. You know, and I'd been running through some things that, God, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? You know, I kind of like to know this a little ahead of time here. You know, but nobody gets up here and just talks. You know, we're teaching out of the Bible, giving instructions of God to help us to live more godly lives, walk in His ways, and do those things. Same thing in which Joshua had done. He communed with God, and God gave him the plan of, hey, here's what you need to tell the people. And that's my prayer. Anytime I preach, teach, whatever, God, what do you want your people to know? Because my opinion ain't going to help you a bit. But God, what do you want your people to know? What were they going through? What do you want me to help them with? What do you want me to do with it? And so it's the same thing with us as the children. We have to trust. Sometimes you'd be like, whew, that was one of them hard ones to swallow. Sometimes they're the ones like Brett where you're like, yeah, I need to be doing more of that, you know? Instead of the hustle, bustle, go, I need to just stop and focus. Focus, okay? Somebody look at 1 John 5:14 for us. What do you think God's will is for your life? Chaos, sin, turmoil, worry, fear, anxiety. You think God has any of that in store for you in your life? No. So what do you think His will for you is? His will for you is to give you the expected end, right? To walk in the ways in which He has for you. Okay? And we'll look at other verses here in a little bit that goes on into other things of God's will. But God says, and you know, and we'll go to Jeremiah here in a minute, but God knows the plans that He has for us. To give us that expected end. And they're good plans. They're good plans. You know, that we walk in grace and mercy, in His grace and mercy all the days of our lives. That's God's plan for our life. And it says here that we can have confidence that when we go to Him in prayer, He hears us. He has His plan doesn't alter. Now, here it is, and I've talked to this before. In the perfect world, here we are, and there's God's plan. And when we walk in his ways, that's his plan. We get from point A, point B. That's a great trip. The problem with it is that in our sinful nature, there's God's plan, but we go over here a little bit. We get ourselves in trouble. Then we go over here a little bit. We get ourselves in trouble. And what should be a clear path ends up looking like noodles, just going everywhere. Going everywhere. But God's plan for us does not change. Sometimes we don't get there the way that he would like for us to get there. And sometimes I think it takes us a little longer to get there than what he wants us to take. But he doesn't say, okay, that's it. I don't have that plan for you no more. He told the children of Israel their plan was to take them, that they was going to the promised land, correct? It took them a long time to get there. They wandered around aimlessly for a long, long time. That was not God's plan for them. That was some of the punishment for them. And sometimes God says, okay, stop right there. We got a little growing we got to do. And them growing sessions are tough sessions. But it's all for an expected end. And it's so easy to say that all things work together for good. Oh, because it's all just so happy and good times. Sometimes those all things that work together for good are when we have to stop and we go up behind the woodshed quite often. And God wears us out a little bit. And he corrects us. You know, and we don't like those lessons. At least I sure don't. All right, Psalms 42:11. Well, how's your countenance? What is your countenance? I think one of the ways, the best way I can relate to what's your countenance, how's your attitude? And why do I have a really bad attitude? I have a really bad attitude when I'm getting wore out from trying to do everything myself. And I'm not taking that time to stop and listen and pray and worship. Two of the greatest tools we got, but it's like, you know, the ones that we keep in our back pocket here, but we never pull them out and use them. We never pull them out and use them. So why are we cast down? Most of the time when we see that we are cast down, it's because we have failed. Trying to do it all on our own. But our two greatest weapons that we have is prayer and praise, worship. Because both of those require us to stop. Time out. I'm not focusing on this anymore. I'm focusing on the Lord. And in those times of focus, he renews our strength. He reminds us that the battle is his. And then he'll send us back in for a while. But then when we start getting wore out, then he says, all right, come back in here. Let's go. It's like a boxer, you know. Ding, ding, the bell rings. If that boxer just gets out there and just starts shadow boxing and throwing punches out and, you know, in the middle of the ring, he's going to be wore out. And them later rounds, he's going to get knocked out. But what do they do when the bell rings? They go to the corner. They get a little coaching. They put code packs on them. They get a little drink of water. And what are they doing? They're focusing, reminding them of what the plan is. It is so important that we spend time in prayer, and it's so important that we spend time in praise and reflection and listening to the coach. Get the battle plan. All right? If Joshua would have came in and said, God told me something about how we was going to take this city, and I can't remember what he did. I think he said something about we're going to wait 7 days, but I've got us a 3-day plan on what we're going to do. We're going to go a little bit quicker on this because we got some things to do. They said there's milk and honey over there, and I'm a little hungry. So let's shorten it up a little bit. And we laugh at that, but don't we try to do the same thing? We want God to microwave it. You know, we want it quick. Hurry, God, take care of this. And God's saying, just follow, just trust. All right, third thing, God has a purpose. He's not random. Okay, Romans 8:28. And sometimes we do. We think that, all these things, but in every little detail, from the time that the plagues came, Moses led the children of Israel out of Egypt, God had a plan through every bit of that. None of that was just random. God just never wakes up and just says, I don't really know what I got planned going on today. He's got a plan every single day for your life and my life. What does Romans 8:28 say? Key words, at the very last two words of that statement. His purpose. So many times and all things work together for good when God finally starts to see things the way we want him to see it and works them out the way we want him to work them out. But for it to work out the way it's supposed to work out, it has to be his purpose. It's his plan. It's not ours. And we've said it before. If you was going to plan how Jesus was going to come into the world, would you have chosen a virgin teenage girl in a little bitty town that nobody really knew much about? And there would have been no room for him, and he'd have been born out in a manger somewhere, feeding trough? Then would you let him live for 33 years and then nail him to a tree and crucified as worst criminal of all time, according to the world's standards? No. But guess what? That was God's plan. That was God's plan. All right? Psalms 33, 10, 11, and 12. Okay. The counsel of the heathen? No. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to work. When we see all the craziness that goes on in this world today, and we think, oh my goodness, this is terrible, the things that they're doing. And it is. But guess what? When God says that's enough, they're going to be pushed to the side. He's going to make the foolish fools. His word says that. He's going to bring it to naught. All the plans and the conniving of these, all the evil of the world. When God says stop, that's it. I gave you a chance. It's over. It's over. What does he say there in the second part of that? He makes the vices of the people none effect. We can try as hard as we can try, but if it's not God's plan and God's purpose, we're doing nothing. We're not going nowhere. We're not going to accomplish anything. The counsel of the Lord standeth forever. So therefore it gives us encouragement that that was a great Old Testament story. But this tells me that God is forever, from generation to generation. So God's as active in his plan in 2022 as he was right here in the Battle of Jericho. And I'm thankful for that. I'm so glad for that. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, and the people whom he hath chosen. As Christians, hey, we're the chosen. We're the chosen. He sent his son into the world for all. But the inheritance are for the ones who accept that invitation. And as Christians, we've accepted that. And his blessings, follow us all the days of our lives. All right, God's plan is worth the wait. Be patient. And think about this. For 40 years, they've been wandering around, going in circles. And I think it was Brother TJ several years ago was talking on this, and he kind of showed a map of how they went. And, they just basically just walked around in circles for 40 years and didn't go nowhere. But still yet part of God's purpose and plan, because they were being disobedient. So God said, okay, well, you'll wait. And then think about this. They finally get to Canaan land. They finally are to the promised land. And you think, finally I've arrived. It's time for battle. You'll be like, we've been wandering around forever in the desert. We just can't walk in and take the city like you said. But it's a battle. It's a battle. They wait 7 days of just marching around, one lap at a time. And then 7 laps on the final day. And go back and research and study that, after the wilderness and all these things that they did, once they got into Canaan land, they fought 31 more battles. And you know what that tells me? Never in this world, this side of eternity, are we ever going to reach a point to where we're just going to be battle free. Whatever battle you're facing right now, God will get you through it. But guess what? The devil's not going to stop. He's going to come back at you again. The good news is, though, with each battle that we face, we get a little stronger. We learn to trust in the Lord when we go through things. The first couple battles are tough because we thought, whoa, I didn't think I'd ever have to go through no battles. But we all have struggles. We all have things that we go through or are going through. But we have to be patient. We have to wait. Wait on the Lord. And you say, well, why would God put me in this situation? A lot of times when we go and look at it, we put ourselves in that situation. That wasn't God's plan. His plan is to bring us out. But sometimes we just have to wait and trust in His timing, in His ways. He's still training us. You don't take a peanut league football team and say, y'all are good. I think I'm going to put you in the Super Bowl next year. Let's see how you do against those guys. No. It's a growing process. It's a training process. Same thing in our spiritual life. Talk about the sower. That seed that growed up real quick. What happened when the sun hit it? The heat and the pressure got on it. It wilted. It's those that takes that time for those roots to grow deep. And when we go through things and that seed is getting crushed, it hurts and it's painful, but all that time, God's love and His care, that soil, is processing that, and it's going to grow strong. And then the winds and stuff like that, it's not going to, it might blow in the wind a little bit, but it's going to stay rooted and grounded. And that's what God's plan for us is. All right, Jeremiah 29:11. There we go. When we talked about what's God's will for you, it's of peace. God didn't create you to just be in battles all the time. He has an expected end for you. He knows the plans He has. Okay? And He'll bring us through. He'll bring us through when we go through those. To give you the expected end. And what's the expected end? Eternal glory with Him. Eternal glory with Him. There's going to be trials and tribulations, and we're going to get knocked down and have to get back up, and we're going to get knocked down and have to get back up here on this side of eternity. But the expected end is that we get back up. Not that we don't ever get knocked down, because we're all going to get knocked down. But He says, get back up. Keep going, and He's going to lead us to that expected end. When the expected end is when we continue to be servants for Him, and when He calls us out of here, we get the big award banquet. Get the awards banquet. All right? Isaiah 40:31, one of my favorite verses. Yeah. Well, he must have had to go leave for something. He just now got up and left a couple minutes ago, but that is on all of his ambulances. Isaiah 40:31. Yeah. But they that wait, man, isn't that hard? They that wait upon the Lord. But it's the expected end. The expected end. What's He going to do? He's going to renew your strength when we wait upon the Lord. For those that used to when we would train and stuff like that. And I was coming in school this morning, the ROTCs out there, they use our track in the morning. And I told Mr. Stanley, I walked in, I said, I've been out there watching ROTC work out thinking I'd get inspired. I said, I hadn't yet. Just came on in here to eat my breakfast and drink my cup of coffee here. But, to renew our strength, when I used to work out a lot, you have to take days off. Because those muscles, because when you work out, what you're doing is you're tearing down them muscle fibers. And it is through the rest and the nutrition that they grow back stronger than what they were before. And that's how you get stronger. Well, it's the same thing in our spiritual battles. Sometimes we get to where it's, God, I need, and He's like, And then when it's time, Dalton was talking about this the other day. Those chills when they start coming on you and you feel God moving. And then like TJ talked about, like some of the last couple services and stuff that we've had on Sunday mornings and stuff, you can just feel the Spirit and He's working. And you sit up there and, have the head bowed and stuff like that, and you can just hear it. You can hear them footsteps coming down through here and all that. What is that? That's the Spirit at work. That's the Spirit at work. And it does. It's like, ooh, that's great. That's great that God's working. And what is He doing? He's renewing strength. And some people's finding His strength for the very first time. And that's great. But for us, those of us that's been in the fight for a long time, we still got to be renewed. We got to be renewed. We're going to mount up with wings of the eagles. Talked on that one time. And if you watch the eagles, they're not out there just flapping and working. But it's strategic enough to where they allow the force, the headwinds, and all the things that's coming through them, they put themselves in that position where they can just catch it and rise above it. And that's what He's saying that we'll do. When we wait on the Lord in His timing, He's going to pick us up. He's going to pick us up. We all need God. No matter how hard we try, if it's not God's plan, it's not going to work. Hebrews 4:16. I'll go ahead and get that one. I got it right here. Let us therefore come boldly into the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. We got to have God. Because guess what? We're all going to make mistakes. And we need His grace. And we need His mercy. Every single day. Every day. And again, it goes back to what we said about prayer and worship. That's the reason why those are so important. That we enter into His presence. We enter into His courts with thanksgiving in our heart. Thankful that, hey, Lord, it's me again and I've messed up. Here I am. Well, we don't necessarily be thankful that we messed up, but we can be thankful that His mercy's there and we find grace. And God, I need You. I need You to renew my strength, okay? But we all need Him, and we have to enter into His presence. Obedience matters to God. We're about done here. Luke 11:28. Okay, if He would have stopped that right there at the very beginning, but He said, yea, rather, blessed are they that hear the word of God. Isn't that us a lot of times? Check the box, went to church, check the box, I listened to the devotion, check the box, I did this, and this, I heard it. But the last part is where it's at. And keep it. And do it. And I've given the example when I taught over here at the Christian school once, JV basketball. I don't know, it's probably my first or second year coaching, and we was at Rye Cove, and we was playing, and we was either down one or it was tied, and there's like 7 or 8 seconds to go, and timeout. I got timeout. I got the team over there. That one kid's a pretty good shooter. I'm not going to say his name out here. He's now a grown man, and I've reminded him about it a time or 20, but. Got in there and I said, all right, now here's what we're going to do. And I ran kind of the old picket fence play, and we're going to catch the ball. We're throwing in from the side. He's going to come through 2 screens down the block. We're going to swing the ball. He's going to catch it on the side, right where he's good at shooting. Catch it. We're going to win this game. Ready? Break. I sit down. I look. The referee said, Coach, you only got 4. The kid that I drew the play up was sitting beside him. He said, oh, am I in? And I thought, well, obviously he didn't pay much attention to the plan. Okay? But so many times that's us, isn't it? We heard it, but we just really didn't pay no attention to it. He was talking to somebody else. Oh, you meant me. That was for me today. And I've done that before. I've left out here and said, that's a good service. I bet you that was for her. She's been a little grouchy these last couple of days. Yeah, my wife sits on this side. So her, this person on this side, okay? But it says and keeps it, though. When God speaks, it's one to hear it, but He wants the obedience of us following in His word. Hearing's not enough. We've got to be doers of His word as well. All right? Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. one word used 2 times in there that's hard. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Be a whole lot easier if it said, trust in the Lord when things are going good and it's not that hard. But he says, with all thine heart. Lean not to thine own understanding in all thy ways. Well, I can give you these, Lord, but now this one here is a little bit tough. And I struggle with this one. I'm going to handle this my own way. And sometimes, for me, a lot of times it's the patience and the long suffering. Now, God, I can handle this, and this, and this. But enough's enough. But he says, in all thy ways. And that's the one that I go to the woodshed on quite often. All right, last one. God fulfills all of his promises. God is faithful. You know, when we go through and you can read from Genesis all the way through Revelations, the ones in Revelations are being fulfilled, but up to that point in time, every single thing that God said he was going to do, he's done. And guess what? When this is all said and done, and he finally closes that book for the final time, every single promise that God's made will have been fulfilled. Every single one. Why? Because God is faithful. Joshua 23 and 14. If we finished with us saying, hey, I want raise your hand if God's failed you, and let's talk about this for a while. Can anybody raise their hand and say, God's failed me? But now if we were going to go and say, now raise your hand if you failed God, we would be here until service started Sunday, telling of all the times we failed God. Even with our best of intentions, we fail. We stumble and we fall. But guess what? God never does. God is faithful. And he will get us to that expected end. So just like those, the children of Israel and what they had been through, and this battle plan that didn't make a whole lot of sense. Oh, we read it and think, oh, wow, that was awesome. They didn't have to do nothing. They just marched. They blew the trumpet, which, I did another study on this, and that trumpet that they blew, the ram's horn, was usually an act of, here it was being blown to go into battle, but usually it was an act of worship. Once the battle was over with, then they would blow that in celebration. But God's saying, when it blow it, the battle's going to start. And in that, it just praise. Praise and worship, not just when things are good, not just because, wow, we've had some good services here of late. We've seen some people get saved and we've seen some baptism stuff. But guess what? When life is at its hardest, God's saying, you praise. The battle will give you, God's going to get the expected end out of the battle. We just put ourselves in position to praise. Praise him in the good times. Praise him in the bad times. Why? Because he's worthy. He's worthy. And he's faithful. He's going to bring us through. It may be the start of the fourth quarter and you are wore out. You are wore out. And the score of your life doesn't look very good. You think, man, I've been getting killed here lately. Know this. With God, we all win. So you might be in the position where it's going to be the greatest comeback story ever. Or you just may be the consistent one who continues to pray and worship every day, and you're just waiting to see the victory in your family's life. I encourage you in this. Hold fast. God's faithful in all of his promises. And he will give us the expected end. Does anybody have anything?
I decided I don't want this to happen
Yep. Exactly. And because of all of his plans are perfect, he don't have to adjust. God don't have to come out with a new and improved or, oh, I forgot about this. When he spoke it from the very beginning, it's not changed course one bit. Because he's the Alpha and the Omega. He's the beginning, he's the end. Anybody else? Amen. I would love if there was a dictionary somewhere out there where it says God is not slack, God is long suffering, and it would give us a time frame of what long suffering meant, so that we could say, okay, 2 to 3 weeks. It's been 2 weeks, so it's evidently going to happen this week. But we don't know his timetable, and sometimes we march and march and march and march, and don't seem like anything's happening. But if we'll continue to march in his ways, when he wants it to happen, it's going to happen. Going to happen. Every bit of it. Even if you're only like 60 years old like you, ma'am, all right? Even for the spring chickens. Anybody else? I was probably sitting there. All right, well, if nothing else, as far as announcements, haven't heard no different. I think Sunday morning will be Brother TJ. And then I'm not exactly sure what Sunday night we'll see. I know he's saying he's going to get back into Revelations. And he said the angels. I really enjoyed that. Me and Dalton talking about that last night too. I enjoyed that angel, not TJ as an angel, no. The angel message that he brought us, that the Lord brought us through TJ, and I guess Denise thinks he's an angel, but the other night, that was very good. I greatly enjoyed that. All right, well, if there's nothing else, let's stand, and Brother Brett, would you dismiss us in a word of prayer?